It's the Friday Feels, and we're back with your first sip of the weekend. You're now tuned in to this week's episode of Your Happy Hour. I'm your host, Nicole Carmine, and it's amazing to have you here, joining me this week as we uncover the truths about being a human and a working professional. What are you up to this Friday? Well, whatever it is, this moment is just for you. Big welcome back to the Feel Space and the Your Happy Hour podcast. And it's a new month. It's March. Can you believe it? And we are talking about a new theme this month called our human hardware. So what does this mean? What does it mean to be human? This is kind of how this question and this theme came about. And what does it mean to look at our bodies, our vessels, as a piece of hardware, our brains, the way it functions? How do we kind of evolve? How do we upgrade ourselves the way we would with our iPhone, perhaps? Or how are we rejuvenating our individual bodies and also collectively as a society? And so there's so many questions around this theme. I can't wait to unpack. And today I have an amazing guest and I'm really excited to get to know a little bit better as well. I want to say a big welcome to you, Omar, to the Feel Space and the Your Happy Hour podcast.
Thank you so much, Nicole. I'm so happy to be here with you as well.
Yeah, it's such a wonderful pleasure. And I'd love for you to just kind of give me and also the audience a little bit of a journey of like how you got to be where you are today, just tell us about what you do. Yeah.
Of course. So a little flashback. In my childhood, actually, I've always been fascinated by human behavior, how people behave, how people actually act and react to each other's, I would say, words. Sometimes that gap between their intention and the impact of what happened after they said something. That's something that really got me thinking a lot. I was also very inclined to study, I would say, this field of human behavior, human interaction, because my mother is a professional coach and she had a lot of books and readings about this kind of stuff. So I grew up with this, but I grew up in Morocco, a country where every time I said, hey, I want to work in psychology, I want to work in human behavior, people usually answered, that's pretty cool. Yeah, that's a cool hobby. And what would be your real job? So basically, after hearing that thousands of times, I decided to become an engineer. So software engineer, joined EY, did HR transformation strategy. I then joined the startup world, connected back to my first love, so human behavior, human people development in the organization, coaching. I had a lot of different, I would say, jobs and missions around like coaching program design, around behavioral science, around psychometrics as well. That's something I love, and I will talk about that also during this podcast. And all this led me to build my own company. Why? Because everywhere I went, everywhere I worked, with every client I worked, I found that this same issue, there is, as I said earlier, this intention impacts gap in communication. We've all heard that infamous, but I just gave him feedback, what did he start crying? Or I told him or her 10 times and he still doesn't get it, or she still doesn't get it. Every time we tend to believe that we have the same hardware, that we are the same, we have the same brain, that we should understand things the same way. And it's simply not the case. We are all different. We all have different backstories. We all have different personalities. We all have different communication preferences. And thus it's super important to know how to adapt, to reconnect our hardware to their person's hardware in order to effectively communicate. So I designed something to help people better adapt their communication to their interlocutor in the in the workplace. That's what my company is all about.
That is super interesting, and I feel like this is the perfect topic for you. So,
Indeed.
well, first of all, I want to say I really like this idea of the intention impact gap, and I've never really thought about it much. But last month, we also spoke about how to honest it up, and this idea of like how do you give and accept feedback, and how different that is for everyone. And I think it's the same in this situation with this theme. What is it to be human to you? What is your experience of that? What is your narrative? What is, yeah, like how are you hardwired or maybe softwired in some way, you know? And it's interesting. I think a lot of people might look at astrology and be like, oh, if you're Aquarius, then you think like this. If you're a Scorpion, you know, look out for them, or whatever it might be. But I think it's really important to understand ourselves and to have more compassion. Like while you were speaking, the word curiosity came to mind for me. And I think if we're more curious about each other and not trying to judge and just have compassion for that space, it will be a lot easier to be human. But what does that mean to you? Like, what does human hardware mean to you? What does being human mean to you? I mean, I know these are big questions, but yeah.
Yeah, beautiful questions. I agree on the curiosity side. We can come back to that later. But to answer your question about what it is to be human to me, what's the hardware? For me, they're like, yeah, there are several parts, several aspects. There's, of course, the body. I mean, we are humans. We have a body. We have something that embodies what's like our intention, our what we do, what we eat, our activities, like everything that's related to how we interact with the world around us. So that includes, of course, the body, how I get up, how I sit, if I run, if I walk, the way I express myself. Am I moving hands when I'm talking? Am I moving my eyebrows when I'm talking, etc.? All this is part of who I am as a human being first, but also as a unique human being, because the way I move is probably super different from the way you move or anybody else can move. And it's a form of an expression of our uniqueness for me. That's the first part. And the second part would be the internal connectors. What I call internal connectors is mainly, I'll simplify that by calling it the brain, but it's really the personality, the traits, the preferences, what's the psychological need that we might have, because even though we might think that as human we all have the same needs, that's not true. Behavioral science showed that that's not true. We have several different needs on different kind of proportion, and those proportions depends on who we are, our backstories, our personality, like our the things that we were born with even sometimes. And for me, this part, the maybe the softer part of the hardware, is as important as the other parts to define who you are as a unique human being. Because, for instance, one could need, I don't know, like recognition for their opinions. I mean, they need to be heard, to feel heard in the way, well, they share vision, they share, well, yeah, their opinion on a topic, etc., etc. While another person couldn't care less about that. I mean, yeah, cool, I shared something, you're not hearing it, it's fine, I don't care, I'd rather just have fun with you, etc. And these two people, they're like, none of them is weird and the other one is the right one. Like, there is no right way to be. I love what you say about suspending judgments earlier, and that's exactly my point here. I mean, we're all valid, or all the ways of being are valid. We just need to have this curiosity to understand how the other one is wired and try to adapt the way we can interact with them, because I mean, that's part of what makes us human for me is the part that has been neglected so much well in the history of human beings, because we cannot see that, we cannot touch that. We can touch a body, we can say, hey, you have a big nose, cool, ha ha ha. That's something that is palpable, you know. But personality, etc., no. And for me, that part is key in understanding our human hardware, because that part influences actually the first part I talked about, the body, the way you move, the way you express yourself, the tone of your voice. Everything else depends and relies on this for me.
It makes so much sense when you explain it like that. I agree. And the image that came to mind for me now is like someone who could be really tall and not feel confident, and so they kind of slump. But the confidence comes from within, right? It's
Exactly.
that like human part of it. And what they do with their body in the world exudes that expression of the humanness. So they work so like nicely hand in hand. We have to have the one to have the other. I mean, imagine we were just this like fuzzy blob inside and we had no way to express that into the world. Like, I guess that's the part of being human that is beautiful, but yet so daunting at the same time and vulnerable. So what has that been like for you in your journey as a human, having a vessel, having a hardware? Like, what is, yeah, how have you coped with like integrating these two and expressing?
Yeah, that's actually a very interesting question, because, as you said, this vessel is saying some things about what's within. And so, yeah, in my story, my personal story, this vessel actually had different, I would say, purposes. I used it in different ways, because the main, I want to say, captain in that vessel is the brain. So that brain decided several things about how this body should act, should be, should look, etc., depending on external signs at first. And I think many people can have shared the same experience, especially when you grow up, you're young, or you start being a teenager, and like the way like you start defining your personality, and people are looking at you, maybe sometimes judging you, and that affects the way you wanna look to them, affect the way you want to maybe change things, the things that you think that might not be valid, in order to be validated as a human being in the eyes of other people. So I would say in my journey, my body had played that role of, I want to say, the um, trying to showcase what the other people would have liked to see in me, or at least I thought that they would have liked to see that in me, in my younger times, I would say. And so that could be reflected in several ways: the way I dressed, the way I walked, the way I tried to change the tone of my voice, the way I used to brush my hair when I had hair. And yes, so I want, what I'm trying to say here is that vessel, it plays a role as this. How do I put that? It's what the other people are seeing, the other people are maybe judging, the other people are maybe evaluating. And I mean, you're evaluated through what you're displaying. And when you don't have that confidence within that self sufficiency, I would say, within, you tend to over adapt, and your body tends to over adapt as well. And you might at some point come to a disconnection, you know. That's why it's super interesting to talk about these two parts, the vessel and the captain within, because at some point the captain can look at the mirror and have a look at that vessel and say, whoa, what's happening? Who are you? Are you me? And thank God that through like my experiences, my therapy, coaching, etc., I managed to find that alignment, inner alignment, self-sufficiency, I mean confidence, etc., in order to have a body and a body language and a tone of voice, etc., that aligns and reflects entirely what's within. So yes, I think what I'm trying to say here is that we tend to quickly jump on judging the vessel and expecting some kind of I don't know, like archetype. A good vessel should be this and that and that and that, and we kind of see that in the eyes of other people. Sometimes there's nothing there, but it's just our brain like playing us into believing that, tricking us into believing that, and in the end, that's meaningless. In the end, the most important is the alignment. The most important is what's within. I mean, when once what's within is cleaned, is aligned, is centered, well, the vessel will just follow that flow, if I may.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And I think it's a journey to get to what
Oh
you're
yes.
explaining now and that understanding of it, you know. And I mean, I think we all go through that when we like you're younger. And I think a lot of what we, yeah, like you say, want to be is just accepted. Like to me, the word acceptance comes up, and it's like you just want to be loved in the world, and it starts with your family or people around you, and maybe at school, you know, kids. Oh, kids can be so mean. So
Yeah.
it's like
They're-
it's really understanding who you are, but it's deeper than that. It's like an acceptance of who you are and loving that and there's a reason that you came into this life of being human in the way you have. Like you say, you have your voice has a reason to be the way it is. It has a frequency that will change things, and it's beautiful. But we often try to hide that, and it's really hard to be human in this
yeah.
vessel. You know, I think that's it's a funny game, you know. Like I think I often sit and I think like, what is this all about, you know? But I think it's a beautiful experience. So thank you for sharing that, and I'm really happy that you could get to that point on the other side. You know,
Thank
it's
you.
inspiring for us and for the audience listening to know that it's possible, because sometimes you just need to see somebody else accepting and loving themselves to be like, hey, I can do that for me too, you know.
Of course.
So, but it's really interesting, and I mean, obviously, you studied a lot of this, but did you have people kind of along the journey that helped you see this, or mentor?
Yeah, of course, of course. I mean, the best people to help you see this is the first people who will truly accept you for who you are and love that part of you, the part that you like as a younger person you wouldn't have believed that could be accepted and loved. And once you find this person, because we all have those people around us, sometimes we lack the I want to say clairvoyance to to identify them, but they're there. Actually, it could be family, could be friends, could be teachers, could be like anything like that. People who just accept, they are just accepting you for who you are. And once you have this, I call that a permission. Like this person is actually telling you you are allowed to appreciate who you are, like, and fully appreciate who you are in all the good and the bad that that you embrace, because we are not perfect, nobody's perfect. In my journey, I had several people who played that role, and I thank them very much. I wouldn't be here without them. Like when I say here, I mean in this place, but also in this state of mind and all. So for me, that's something that shouldn't be neglected, because As we're talking about, yeah, the hardware. For me, these are you know, in your computer sometimes you have this software that helps you clean and cleanse everything else. Well, these people are playing that role for your human hardware, if you see what I mean. So. I want to say that, yeah, throughout the journey, and it's a never-ending journey, I had a lot of people, and I'm still having many people playing that role of like giving you permission to accept who you are, because you see that acceptance in the eyes of others. But of course, the ultimate goal is to have that within, accepting you and yourself the way you are. But of course, that's having that from outside is a helper and a booster.
I love that you've had those people. I think that sometimes we discover them a lot later in the journey
Yes.
too. You know, I think that's been my experience. And sometimes we think that the romantic partner we choose is that person, and that's not always the case. So, but something that came to mind for me when you were talking is, well, firstly, the fact that we can be that for other people. I think the more we can, the more we create space for that in the world too, which is amazing. And kind of get to like shine the light, you know. I think if we can shine more light, then that what will reflect back is exactly what you're saying. It's like being a mirror for someone and giving permission. And it's interesting with the hardware, because I think of my laptop and I'm like, you know, sometimes you get these dialogue box things that pop up and they're like, confirm, like, yes, is it okay? And then you're like, yes, delete everything, you know, cleanse me.
Yes, exactly.
So maybe it's just doing that, you know, we're really just making sure that everything flows well in your body, like you say. And yeah, so that's really beautiful. And I think mentors, people that give you that space, are really important. And seek them. They are out there. Exactly.
Because they are out there, yes.
And actually on that, I want to say, like, thank you to the people who give us the space to have these conversations, and that is our partners, rss.com, who are our distributors of the podcast into the world. And then also something that's quite nutritious for the vessel, for the hardware, is called Blender Bomb Company, who have given our audience a wonderful 20% discount on any bombs that you order, and it's like nutritious snacks that you can eat on the go. And then very lastly, we have partnered with Be an eSIM, which is an eSIM called Best Network Ever. And yeah, so a bit more hardware to keep you connected to other humans. So thank you so much to all of them for being our partners, and you can reach out to us on the socials for more information about the discounts that they've given. And then I also want to take a quick moment to do a shout out to what we call our people, places and spaces, the PPS. And this is a person or organization that we feel has the feels, you know. So each week we do a shout out to them. And I actually want to give a shout out to a space which we held our premiere party for my other venture, Be Live. It feels like last week, but it was the week before that. It was called Enchanted, or is called Enchanted Tools. And I think it's a really nice shout out for this episode, because they are creating robots. And these robots are so beautifully crafted, so creative. They have these personalities, they talk back to you. And what I think is really cool about what they're doing is they're bringing kind of AI and creativity together, but more so maybe also even showing us what it is to be human, to appreciate our hardware, to appreciate how we can move, and just watching them kind of code these robots and the experience there. So thank you for hosting us. Just want to shout out to them. What they do is, I was very enchanted, and it is a tool, so it's quite an interesting combination, and we love your fields, guys. And then I want to move into a little segment called the gems. So this is something that you might have experienced this week that you can have gratitude for, or that you have learned that you can share. And so I'll start. My gem has been, we had a wonderful feels mixer. We have these events in Paris, and hopefully soon in other cities. And it's called Drinks in the City. And we just had so many people show up, and it was just fantastic. It's so wonderful to see the feels grow more and more, and be able to connect in the way we are, as these vessels, together in person and not just online. So that was such a gem, and being able to share the space with everyone. So yeah, what has it been for you?
For me, it's something really like deep and personal, but it's I'm going to be a father soon. And like 7 days ago exactly, we had the very first ecography, and everything was fine. And I can't wait to meet that baby. And I mean, I'm super happy that everything went well. And for me, that would be that.
Oh, that is amazing. Well, firstly, congratulations.
Thank
And
you.
so happy that everything is healthy and good with the little vessel and the baby that's coming. And I'm sure whatever personality and human is meant for you is going to be such an interesting journey to share. And so
Oh, yes.
that's amazing, Jane. Thank you for sharing that. And I wonder for everyone else who's listening out there, what are you feeling about being human, about your body, about this vessel, about this topic? And we want to hear all the feels, so please do let us know on the socials. And then I have one more last question for you, Omar, and that is what we call our reading list, and it's called The Stack. So it could be books that you've read and would like to recommend, or that you're still eyeing and it's still sitting there on your stack. So can you maybe tell us what is in your stack?
Let me check the titles in English first, because as you might have heard, I'm not a native speaker. So the author is Tybee Color, and it's the process therapy model. I guess I hope that's the one. Well, probably. Let's say that's probably it. And that's basically a book that describes the journey of this behavioral scientific researcher who started in psychiatry, and he tells the story of how he got into crafting, designing his own psychometric model called the process communication model, a psychometric that I love, that I feel is very smartly crafted, because opposed to other psychometric tools, it also explains the changes in personality that you can have in life, whereas others are very, I would say, stuck in time. You know what I mean? Like, you have that score and that's it. This one is very evolutive, and you can predict some evolution, and it's pretty interesting. I mean, for me, it was my first, like, the process communication model was my first step into psychometrics. But this book really, it explains everything, and it's a bit complex when you're not, I would say, familiar with some concepts, but I mean, you can get there. So that would be my stack. Otherwise, there is that one. It's I read it every once in a while, every other year. It's The Alchemist from Paulo Coelho. Wonderful, like, book about a journey, about, like, this. It's, for me, it's a huge metaphor about the search of the treasure within. And it's, for me, a big, big illustration of what we're trying to talk about today. Like, how sometimes you need to go far away and do many things to end up reconnecting with that little something that you have already inside that you had from day one.
Oh, I love these recommendations. Thank you. And it's funny, this is the second time someone has mentioned The Alchemist today. So I really need to read that book. And I will be adding both of those to my stack. And for those who want to read more of the books that get recommended on the podcast, you can head over to the website and they will be on the stack page. So thank you for those. And just a huge thank you for coming on, sharing so openly, so honestly, and just such an interesting journey that you've walked. And I feel like we could just have more and more conversations about all of this. But thank you very much for sharing.
And thank you for having me.
If you haven't just yet, follow Friday Feels on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and LinkedIn. You can share with us all your feels this week by tagging us at fridayfeels.co. And you can also find the website at that handle. And now, as you ease into this weekend, take a moment. Celebrate who you've become, what you've overcome, and what is yet to come as you do the crazy and cool things that you do as the authentic you. You know, the truth about life and work is that it's hard, but the beauty is this global working experience that you're in, well, we earn it together. So keep connecting, empowering, and inspiring this week. And of course, keep it raw and real. Until next time.